each day, in every minute, in each day, and every instant that each minute holds, you but relive the single instant when the time of terror took the place of love. And so you die each day to live again until you cross the gap between the past and present, which is not a gap at all. Such is each life, a seeming interval from birth to death and on to life again, a repetition of an instant gone by long ago that cannot be relived. And all of time is but the mad belief that what is over is still here and now. That's from today's reading. We're reading A Course in Miracles, and we're on chapter 26. It's kind of a famous passage in this section. This section is called The Little Hindrance, section 5. Chapter 26 is The Transition, is the name of the chapter. Here we go. A little hindrance can seem large indeed to those who do not understand that miracles are all the same. Yet teaching that is what this course is for. This is its only purpose, for only that is all there is to learn. And you can learn it in many different ways. All learning is a help or hindrance to the gate of heaven. Nothing in between is possible. There are two teachers only who point in different ways, and you will go along the way your chosen teacher leads. There are but two directions you can take while time remains and choice is meaningful. For never will another road be made except the way to heaven. You but choose whether to go toward heaven or away to nowhere. There is nothing else to choose. Nothing is ever lost but time, which in the end is meaningless. For it is but a little hindrance to eternity, quite meaningless to the real teacher of the world. Yet since you do believe in it, why should you waste it going nowhere when it can be used to reach a goal as high as learning can achieve? Think not the way to heaven's gate is difficult at all. Nothing you undertake with certain purpose and high resolve and happy confidence, holding your brother's hand and keeping step to heaven's song, is difficult to do. But it is hard indeed to wander off, alone and miserable, down a road that leads to nothing and that has no purpose. God gave his teacher to replace the one you made, not to conflict with it. And what he would replace has been replaced. Time lasted but an instant in your mind with no effect upon eternity. And so is all time past and everything exactly as it was before the way to nothingness was made. The tiny tick of time in which the first mistake was made, and all of them within that one mistake, held also the correction for that one, and all of them that came within the first. And in that tiny instant, time was gone, for that was all it ever was. What God gave answer to is answered and is gone. To you who still believe you live in time and know not it is gone, the Holy Spirit still guides you through the infinitely small and senseless maze you still perceive in time, though it has long since gone. You think you live in what is past. Each thing you look upon you saw but for an instant long ago, before its unreality gave way to truth. Not one illusion still remains unanswered in your mind. Uncertainty was brought to certainty so long ago that it's hard indeed to hold it in your heart as if it were before you still. The tiny instant you would keep and make eternal passed away in heaven too soon for anything to notice it had come. What disappeared too quickly to affect the simple knowledge of the Son of God can hardly still be there for you to choose to be your teacher. Only in the past, an ancient past too short to make a world in answer to creation, did this world appear to rise. So very long ago, for such a tiny interval of time that not one note in heaven's song was missed. Yet in each unforgiving act or thought, in every judgment, and in all belief in sin, is that one instant still called back, as if it could be made again in time. You keep an ancient memory before your eyes, and he who lives in memories alone is unaware of where he is. Forgiveness is the great release from time. It is the key to learning that the past is over. Madness speaks no more. There is no other teacher and no other way. For what has been undone no longer is. And who can stand upon a distant shore and dream himself across an ocean to a place and time that have long since gone by? How real a hindrance can this dream be to where he really is? For this is fact and does not change whatever dreams he has. Yet can he still imagine he is elsewhere and in another time? Yet can he still imagine he is elsewhere and in another time? In the extreme, he can delude himself that this is true and pass from mere imagining into belief and into madness, quite convinced that where he would prefer to be, he is. Is this a hindrance to the place whereon he stands? Is any echo from the past that he may hear a fact in what is there to hear where he is now? And how much can his own illusions about time and place affect a change in where he really is? The unforgiven is a voice that calls from out a past forevermore gone by. And everything that points to it as real is but a wish that what is gone could be made real again and seen as here and now, in place of what is really now and here. Is this a hindrance to the truth the past is gone and cannot be returned to you? And do you want that fearful instinct kept when heaven seemed to disappear and God was feared and made a symbol of your hate? Forget the time of terror that has been so long ago corrected and undone. Can sin withstand the will of God? Can it be up to you to see the past and put it in the present? You cannot go back. And everything that points the way in the direction of the past but sets you on a mission whose accomplishment can only be unreal. Such is the justice your all-loving Father has ensured must come to you. And from your own unfairness to yourself has he protected you. You cannot lose your way because there is no way but this, and nowhere can you go except to him. Would God allow his Son to lose his way along a road long since a memory of time gone by? This course will teach you only what is now. A dreadful instant in a distant past, now perfectly corrected, is of no concern nor value. Let the dead and gone be peacefully forgotten. Resurrection has come to take its place, and now you are a part of resurrection, not of death. No past illusions have the power to keep you in a place of death. A vault God's Son entered an instant to be instantly restored unto his Father's perfect love. And how can he be kept in chains long since removed and gone forever from his mind? The Son whom God created is as free as God created him. He was reborn the instant that he chose to die instead of live. And will you not forgive him now because he made an error in the past that God remembers not and is not there? Now you are shifting back and forth between the past and present. Sometimes the past seems real as if it were the present. Voices from the past are heard and then are doubted. You are like to one who still hallucinates but lacks conviction in what he perceives. This is the borderland between the worlds, the bridge between the past and present. Here the shadow of the past remains, but still a present light is dimly recognized. Once it is seen, this light can never be forgotten. It must draw you from the past into the present, where you really are. The shadow voices do not change the laws of time nor of eternity. They come from what is past and gone and hinder not the true existence of the here and now. The real world is the second part of the hallucination. Time and death are real and have existence that can be perceived. This terrible illusion was denied in but the time it took for God to give his answer to illusion for all time and every circumstance. And then it was no more to be experienced as there. Each day, and every minute in each day, and every instant that each minute holds, you but relive the single instant when the time of terror took the place of love. And so you die each day to live again, until you cross the gap between the past and present, which is not a gap at all. Such is each life, a seeming interval from birth to death and on to life again, a repetition of an instant gone by long ago that cannot be relived. And all of time is but the mad belief that what is over is still here and now. Forgive the past and let it go, for it is gone. You stand no longer on the ground that lies between the worlds. You have gone on and reached the world that lies at heaven's gate. There is no hindrance to the will of God, nor any need that you repeat. And again, a journey that was over long ago. Look gently on your brother, and behold the world in which perception of your hate has been transformed into a world of love. There's a lot of great stuff in this section, actually, and this section is completely ununderstandable. Who can understand what Jesus is talking about here? Except you have to be it to understand it, right? Very metaphysical. This is getting deep into the metaphysics of A Course in Miracles. What do we mean by metaphysics? What metaphysics is like the theoretical foundation of the Course, and let's put it simply. Let's put it simply. The Course has its own way of explaining things. Keep in mind that words can only do so much, and there is a sense in which you could say that this is just another story that Jesus is telling us to help us. It's a story that for many of us perhaps resonates more than other stories, such as, the gospel accounts, for example. But the thing about the Bible is that the Bible never gets theoretical. This is theoretical, right? The Bible doesn't indulge in theory like Jesus in the Bible, or anywhere in the Old Testament. It doesn't say, and this is what God had in mind. This is what we're talking about. This is what the ego is. This is what God is. Whereas the Course actually goes into that. It doesn't tell you what God is, but it tries to explain what the ego is. And it says very simply, very clearly, that there are only two paths. I've said before, that's why that song, Stairway to Heaven, is so great, because Stairway to Heaven is great on many levels, from the lyrics, the music, but the song is also great because it actually is talking about what A Course in Miracles is saying. Same idea. It actually, Stairway to Heaven came out before A Course in Miracles. It was, I think it came out in like 1973 or 74. But it also says there are two paths you can go by. One will take you to heaven and one to hell. And the Course says, Jesus says here in this section, yes, there are these two paths, but only one of them is real. The other one goes nowhere. So there's really only one choice. There's only one choice before us. And Jesus is basically urging us. He's not forcing us. He's not coercing us. He's not putting the fear of God in us, but he's just saying there's only one way that's going to work. Heaven is the only thing that you really want, and it's the only thing that's real. Now, the Course, when the Course talks about heaven, it's not heaven as we think of it necessarily. Heaven is synonymous with God. Heaven is synonymous with love. It's not a place, because here in this section, Jesus is saying there is time and space are illusory. They do not exist. They are part of the ego thought system. Time and space are illusory. But Jesus says here, as long as you still think that you're in time, it makes sense to not waste time, right? Don't waste time because you and what is wasting time? Wasting time is following the ego, right? Wasting time is when you postpone your own joy. That is a waste of time, right? Postponing your own joy is a waste of time. So Jesus is urging us to to see what the ego is and let it go, right? Let all thoughts of judgment and depression and suffering and guilt and shame, unworthiness, let all of those thoughts recede into the background and eventually recede into nothingness. So what I was going to say is the metaphysics of the Course is essentially, there was a tiny, into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea. This mad idea, which the Son of God, so to speak, thought was, what would it be like to be separate from God? Or maybe it would be fun to go play the game of separation. Maybe it would be fun to go play as an individual, seemingly apart from the whole. So that was the tiny mad idea. And in that very moment, so to speak, there is no time in eternity, right? So to speak, in that very instant, the answer was right there, which is no, that's impossible. Or yes, there's no in eternity. Yes, that's impossible. Right, that's a joke. That could never happen. But the joke was, it did happen, so to speak. In an illusory sense, it did happen. And that's where we think we are right now, right? In a complete illusion. And that's hard for many people to hear, that's where we are, right? This world is an illusion. Many people find that very, very difficult concept, because obviously the world feels very real, right? Everything feels very real here. We don't, and as I was saying in the last video, according to the Course, what we think is real is an illusion, and what we think is an illusion is real. We think God is an illusion from where we are right now. We can't even conceive of God from where we are right now. Even though we could say what God is based on what we've heard about God, who has seen God? Who has talked to God? Many people actually have thought they have talked to God, but did they really talk to God? Right? Now, and you could say, well, did Helen talk to God? Or did God talk to Helen? Depends how you understand that, right? Some have said, like Ken Wapnick said, that basically the formless, perfect love that is within all of us, that is the reality of everything, came through to her as Jesus and gave her this course. Now, a lot of this is open to what you want to be true, and I think it all depends on your willingness and your desire. Like I fully believe from my own experience that this course can be helpful. Living in this world, it could be very helpful, because not too many teachings will come and tell you that your guilt is not real and that you do not need to suffer, right? And that is not God's will. But that's what the Course is saying. That these things are all things that we made up, right? We bought into the ego thought system and we made all this up. We made this whole illusion up, this whole dream. And because we made it up, we can also unmake it. We can undo it. So the little hindrance is nothing, really. The little space, the gap. Sometimes Jesus talks about it as a hindrance. Sometimes he says it's a gap. It's the gap between the eternal present, which is eternity, and the past, which we still are making real. The time of terror, Jesus puts it as the time of terror. We still think that on some level, that we made this all up, and that God now is going to get us. We will be punished. We are guilty, and we will be punished. And we are sinful, and that is really the source of all our dis-ease. Dis-ease, not disease, but also disease. But dis-ease, whenever we feel a sense of dis-ease on any level, it is due to that. It goes back to that. And Jesus is saying, make no mistake about that. That you may pin it on something else, you may blame something else, but it really goes back to that. A little hindrance can seem large indeed to those who do not understand that miracles are all the same. Yet teaching that is what this course is for. This is its only purpose, for only that is all there is to learn. So what is there only to learn? Miracles are all the same. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. That's the first miracle principle. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. So when you have dis-ease on any level, it goes back to this tiny mad idea that we accepted as true. And because we did, we agreed to be separate. And now all we need to do is to agree that we are not separate. That's the atonement principle, right? To accept the atonement principle. We are not separate. We have never been separate. We are not guilty, and sin and guilt and fear are not God's will for us. God's will is, if that is even something that makes any sense to talk about, God's will is that we not suffer at all. At all. Period. End of story. And with that, I'm going to sign off, and we will continue with the next section, the appointed friend. It's very short. So stay tuned for more. Thank you for listening.